Welcome to Missed Opportunities for Good, the podcast where we open up the space to have conversations about trends and campaigns at the intersection of marketing, advertising, and impact.
Hi, I'm Alana Ficalora.
Hi, I'm Steph Belsky.
We're social impact strategists, colleagues, and friends who are on a mission to revolutionize the industry we love.
Listen, today there's a lot of virtue signaling, greenwashing, cause washing, or companies saying nothing out of fear of getting it wrong.
Whether it's a moment or a movement, it still has to be real. It has to be authentic and aligned with the brand, not just performative. It's about the action being taken that goes along with the messaging.
So we're here to highlight who's doing it well, what could be better, and how companies can stop leaving money and the potential for real social change on the table.
Our guest today on Creative Conversations is Elad Ofer. First question, before we get into your intro, if you want to tell us why do you do what you do without saying what you do?
Hello.
Hi, thanks for joining us.
I guess the bottom line is I enjoy doing creative things that are also technically complicated. And I enjoy the challenges of trying to figure out how to tell better stories with the latest technology and create some joy with the people who see it or experience it.
Love that. So now we'll actually say what it is that you do. So Elad is a 25 plus year veteran director, producer, and visual effects supervisor with a passion for technology, who's worked extensively in commercials, feature films, episodic TV, and music videos. He combines an extensive background in the world of visual storytelling with years in and around technology to find the space where the two meet, where current and up-and-coming technologies can help in telling compelling visual stories. Welcome, Elad.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And don't know how we didn't mention this, recently won a Titanium Lion at Cannes for DoorDash with over Lord Danger and Modlo. And recently started a nonprofit think tank, which we'll get into later. All very exciting things.
So bottom line, insane person.
In all the right ways. Welcome to Missed Opportunities for Good, Elad. Let's get to know you a bit better.
So the first question we always ask is, what first drew you to doing impact work?
I honestly think a lot of it is my parents and the house I got brought up in. I grew up in Israel, in Tel Aviv, in a family that is quite leftist. My grandparents were true communists in the Israeli version of it. So they built a kibbutz with their own hands with a bunch of their friends. At the time, my father was the firstborn of that kibbutz. The whole attitude, I think, of that time in Israel was one of communist in the sense of everybody being in one community and everybody supporting each other, everybody supporting the common goals. For the longest time, Israel was also a very socialist country. I think that kind of gets ignored or disappears into the history of all the wars and the fighting and all of that, but it certainly is core to its foundation. This was a lot of sort of Eastern European Jews with all sorts of very communist and socialist ideas, trying to make it real on the ground together with, all the other issues. So my family was always very much that. My parents both have given some of their time, some of their money to support other people. My dad would come home and tell some story about he met somebody on the beach that was homeless or something, and how he talked to them for hours and would do things for them and whatever, buy them lunch or whatever it might be. And I think all of that penetrated. Yeah. And then also I married a goody two shoes. So my wife, it turns out mine too. So my wife, Therese, she went to the Peace Corps. Her parents also are sort of amazing in that way from a different place. They're rather devout Catholics and have also put a bunch of their time and effort into helping other people. She's a public health nurse. She was doing all that through COVID, and she's definitely a much better person than I am. So maybe it's my competitive side, but I did sort of think about what we're doing and how we're doing. Is it just enough to give some money at the end of the year and go, okay, I did my part, or not? And then I decided that that's not enough. That's great, and we should do as much of it as we can afford to. But I want to bring some of that into my everyday, which is making commercials most of the time. I work mainly in advertising, but some on features and TV shows as well. But advertising takes up a bunch of my time, especially over the last, I don't know, let's say 15 years. Those numbers are starting to be really high. It's getting to be really weird to say that. But yeah, I've decided to sort of actively, I'm going to steal this. I have been stealing it from Marie Kondo, but to try and bring joy to somebody, at least in everything I do, try and leave the place just a tiny bit better when I leave. And I don't mean like die, just like on every project I'm on, try and make it just a little bit better. And to some degree, probably also set an example for my daughter who's 11, and in how you should people around you treat the world around you. And so, yeah, that's how I got here.
I love that.
Love that. And you're in such a unique position to be able to really, that's what we're doing here, is trying to have conversations to revolutionize media for good. And so to be able to use up and coming technology and figure out ways that we can incorporate AI to use it for the good of all is really tremendous. So
yeah, I mean, AI is certainly part of it. I think there's a lot of other things happening around us all the time. Even something as simple as the prevalence of LED screens all around us, and how easy they are to put everywhere makes it. I mean, first of all, we are in between our phones, which are LED screens with a computer attached, right? Between everything around us, we're constantly bombarded by media, and it can all be for selling things, or it can also be promoting some ideas. And I think, especially over the last couple of decades, it's been very obvious how media can really direct a conversation. If you think even of like things like gay rights, right, and the power of a couple of TV shows to swing the overall country, maybe even the world around on that idea. Things like, I don't know, my daughter loves, what's it called, Young Sheldon. And so when she tells me, oh, I have this kid in class who's weird, and I'm like, okay, are they also super smart? And she's like, yeah. It's like, well, are they as far out on that spectrum as Sheldon is? It's like, no, okay, see, so there's room. And then she's like, oh, yeah, I guess so. And Young Sheldon is cool in her book because it's got a TV show around it. So all those things I think are very impactful. And then in all certainly in the advertising space, I feel like we waste a ton of bandwidth focused on one thing when you can convey multiple messages at once. So to me, it's not a matter of either or. Either you're selling a car or you're also creating some emotions around something. It's when you combine the two that you get not just, it's sort of a 1 + 1 = 3 sort of situation. You create more for the brand, and you create more for some other cause as well. So my focus has been trying to, at least when possible, get myself involved in those kind of projects that are trying to move the needle on something.
We're excited to be able to get into that shortly as well, because I know you've worked on some very cool projects in this space. And yes, it is amazing. The Scully effect with X-Files, what Will and Grace and even the Ellen Show have done, and TV and media can have such a powerful impact. So it's cool to note there's even like recent examples that are having that impact in another way as well, in an oversaturated landscape too, now that we can watch literally anything on so many different mediums, right? And on that note, what issue area are you most passionate about?
I'd have to say education, and especially STEAM education.
Yeah.
And if I had to narrow it down, probably STEAM education for girls, Although STEAM education all around is sort of, I think, where my passion is kind of really. But also as a father, climate change has got to be like, you can have all the education you want, but if the world's half of it is on fire and the other half is drowning, that won't help much. So that's another big one for me.
Yeah. It's an interesting combination as well, right? Because having the STEAM skills helps have the skills to come up with different solutions and be innovative, though so much of it goes back to some of the most simplest concepts, right, in terms of climate and how we can go back to our indigenous roots to actually have solutions. However, at the same time, being able to know how to adapt and use different technologies and understanding the science of it and all of those pieces in order to create methodologies. So it's like they go hand in hand very well together.
I think it's even more basic than that in some ways, in the sense that to me, to really act on climate change, I think you have to understand how it's happening, and also understand how science works. And I'm going to use the word trust, but it's more than that. It's almost belief, I guess. But I think the more you have educated, or I should say this way, the more you have people who understand science, who understand how the process of science works, I think the more we can all get together and agree that there is something very problematic happening and that has to be addressed, and that can be addressed. And quickly. It's not just
yesterday,
the universe is coming to get us sort of situation. It's totally. Something that we've made.
Yeah.
And we can undo. Less and less of an option to undo at this point, but we can certainly do something about it.
Yeah. And interesting, that makes sense. And it's interesting focusing on kids in that sense as well, though. And there's other studies and from, past campaigns and things like that to get parents to adapt to recycling. They went after kids and almost like had kids shaming parents into recycling. And that's kind of how recycling blew up, along with, ad campaigns from the biggest plastic.
It works. Yeah. Well, also,
but it worked,
ad campaigns, right? from the
it all comes back to advertising. Exactly. And so it's kind of interesting in a lot of ways, but I think with climate, you've seen a lot of these conversations too happening through youth, reaching youth to then come back to parents and stuff as well. And the younger generations being much more aware and understanding of what the future holds and what is happening with climate change than adults who don't want change. And it's very interesting.
It's not even just climate, right? It's everything. It's
every social issue, climate justice. So touches everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that it is something to be careful with at the same time, in terms of the hubris of knowing, or thinking that the one thing that you're focused on is necessarily a real thing. That there's so many, I think, campaigns we've seen come and go that meant well, but it turned out to be seriously misdirected.
Yep.
The recycling thing might actually fall in that category.
I was thinking that same thing.
Even carbon footprints.
Right.
Yeah, the carbon footprint was created by an oil company.
Yeah, it all depends
to put the onus on the individual instead of on the companies behind it that are actually causing the problems.
Yeah, so it's always, I think, good to sort of think deep and not be overly committed in a way that you're unable to change your mind due to facts anymore. That's, I think, kind of when it becomes your religion, then things can go wrong sort of quite quickly. And that is honestly one thing that I think is the key to science. Is it is built in a system that allows for change and allows for new information to come in and uproot the previous beliefs. And it's not bad. That's the basis of the system. That's good. But I guess what I'm saying is with all these things, before you jump in, I think it's always good to just kind of like consider it a little bit, and also know that you might commit yourself to something fully and then find out that it was misdirected. Hopefully not too much. And I do think intent matters. So if your goal is to do some good, that in itself matters a little bit. Obviously, it depends on how far you're going with your outcomes.
So to that end, what's an impactful project you've worked on that you're most proud of?
So lately, there's been two things. My wife and I, together with a couple of friends, we just started an educational nonprofit in Los Angeles for now, but we're hoping it'll grow past that. It's a state of the art STEAM classroom in a trailer, so it's mobile. It can go from school to school, and it's not just the classroom. It comes with curriculum and teachers, so we can bring some science education to different places. We're trying to focus on schools that wouldn't normally be able to afford this level of classroom, this level of curriculum, and also really it's focused on making it fun and teaching the I'm going to say kids, but it's really students of all ages to think critically, to make things with their own hands. So it's very geared towards what we have been calling learning through making. So there are all sorts of tools to make things, from power tools and I don't know, table saws and chop saws and power drills and all of that, all the way to 3D printing and all sort of the newest technologies, CNCs and it's such a computer ways of making physical things, and the entire range in between, and really sneaking in the science and the learning while the students are kind of having fun making things is the core mission. And we've managed to build a trailer that I'm really proud of. We have a teacher, in that first trailer. His name is Phil Canella. He's also our head teacher and one of the co-founders. And every time you see the kids doing these things and with huge smiles on their faces, and also in the meantime they learn things like calculating volume or understanding what resonance is or frequencies or what waves are at all, uh, why an LED generates light, how to measure all sorts of different things. um, so they do all that, and then they also kind of get to have fun. And then, like I said, you see the big smiles when, like this last weekend, we did something where the kids built a Bluetooth speaker from scratch. It's a wooden box with a speaker and an amplifier and whatever, and they enjoyed making it. But especially when they turn it on in the end, and it goes that Bluetooth sound that I can't do very well, and then they connect it to whatever, and they play Taylor Swift. Just huge smiles, and that's just as the best, because now they have some level of confidence that they can build something from scratch, that they can use those tools. And it's just great to see, like, a tiny little person barely able to reach out to the handle of a chop saw and cutting wood, and just excited about it, and not just the boys, the girls very very much so as well, and also kind of sometimes pushing the boys aside and like, no, let me show you how to do this.
Yes.
We love
So
that.
that's been great. We are very much in the process of funding it and getting it going. We're in a couple of schools right now. We're working hard on getting it into as many schools as we can, and trying to raise money to both build more of these and be able to put more teachers out and kind of spread the curriculum. It's also, everything is by design open source, so we're all about creating curriculum and lesson plans and all that other people can use, rather than be like, no, that's our secret sauce and only we can do it. There's, I think, so much of a need and so much excitement, and you see the teachers excited, you see the kids excited, and we want to share that as much as we can. It's a lot. Like, starting a nonprofit while having a full-time job is a lot, but it's going quite well.
And missed opportunity for any brands listening. If anyone has, GM, the other brands that are supporting STEM education, could use an electric vehicle to pull said trailer. It's some great content of kids working in STEM. I mean, hello, such an opportunity.
I love
Just
it.
throwing that out there. It's our reverse missed opportunity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Apple, HP, Dell, whoever will take.
Yep.
We need more computers. We have
Line them up.
Yeah. The trailer is chock full of technology, and all of it is expensive, and we can use all the help we can get. And then the other thing, last year, so my day job is at a company called The Artery. It's a production company and a post-production company based in New York City, but we're kind of all over the world. So the owner and chief creative officer, Vico Sharabani, and I co-directed this UN campaign for climate change called Weather Kids.
So good.
Where the UNDP program came together with a bunch of broadcasters all over the world, the Weather Channel, CNN, and TV stations literally all over the world. I'm going to mess up the number. I think it was 87 countries or something, where on the same day, the newscaster or the news anchor turned and said, now to the weather. And instead of the local weather person, there was a kid delivering the forecast for 2050 and really explaining how bad it'll be. The entire campaign is based on data from all over the world, and it's all very much rooted in science and designed to be not alarmist, but as true to the current science and understanding as it can be. But it's also meant to be emotional. So these kids are asking the adults a bit, sort of, shaming the adults into the last, like the tagline is, so adults can get off their butts and fix this completely solvable problem. So we did that. That was a lot of technology in combination of some older stuff, like we created just packages for all these different TV channels around the world to use. But also we filmed 5 kids, and then using AI, we made those 5 kids speak. I believe we ended up with 11 different languages that they don't speak. So that was pretty amazing, being able to leverage that technology. And it's not just that the AI translates it; it makes the lip sync correct mostly, and really was able to allow us to film something with a relatively small budget that could be used all over the world. If we had to shoot 15 kids or something, that would have been a very long shoot week. It was pretty long as it is. I mean, the kids were amazing, but their attention span is quite short.
Yes. Such a well-done campaign, and got a lot of recognition. I remember seeing it popping up everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, we won an award in Cannes. That was great.
Oh, man.
I do hope that it actually had some impact. If I'm being completely honest, I am not sure. I hope to do more of it, and I hope that it does have impact. It certainly had a lot of eyeballs, and I think every little bit of information adds a little push. I do worry quite often about, with these kind of things, are we preaching to the choir, which doesn't really need more preaching to, or are we doing something that can actually push somebody that's on the fence on the subject, or even on the other side to reconsider their truth about it. So I hope we did something. It certainly got a lot of eyeballs, and it was very exciting to work on. I had my daughter did a lot of the preliminary tests. We filmed just her and I, and had a lot of fun. And then working with the kids, working with the UNDP, all the partners, we filmed in the Weather Channel studio in Atlanta, which was great. So that was the other sort of big impact campaign that I was involved with last year. Now we got to figure out the one for this year.
Yeah, more than one.
Yeah, hopefully.
That'd be great. Yeah.
We'll definitely link to the campaign in the show notes as well, so anyone who hasn't seen it can watch it, because the kids are adorable, and how can you not want to do something after you watch them?
Yeah. And if you're a brand, you win awards and get attention. And the Weather Channel, when we were in Cannes for the Lions, they had a big screen in the middle of the whole thing with they were showing a few things, but Weather Kids was a big part of it, and they had a lot to talk about. They were in a bunch of panels. There were a bunch of things. Now, obviously, that's very industry insider, but I think it also gave them options to kind of pointing outward to say this is something we care about and get some attention for it.
I can't remember a lot. Was there a nonprofit directly involved? I mean, obviously it's a UN project, but was there like, is there a call to action at the end?
There is a call to action. But it's all under the UNDP umbrella.
Yeah.
There's a website that asks the adults to come and sign a climate commitment to do something for real. I love behavioral economics, and there's a bunch of behavioral economics research that seems to show that when people sign some commitment, it makes them a little bit more likely to do something about it. So that was the idea, but it really is all like the UNDP is behind all of it, and especially Boaz Paldi, who is the head of the UNDP, came up with this campaign together with an agency called Activista.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Who's an agency that's focused on this kind of work.
Yeah. That's some brilliant campaigns.
Yeah. We were just happy to have been invited to kind of help make it real.
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
So cool that it's a global campaign and not just focused on one country and their impact. But I think it's really interesting how it brought together. It's showing these effects across the world and bringing it to the attention of everyone. And I think the planting of them into the local channels was such a genius.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty insane when you think about the work that the UNDP had to do with its partners in order to literally hundreds of channels all at the same time, disrupting their normal broadcast to do this for free, essentially.
Yeah.
Like they didn't pay for the airtime.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I should say, but I'm pretty sure that's true. That's insane. So if you're a brand that's somehow connected to that, the impact of that is crazy. Like you're getting a lot of recognition, and you're doing something good. So I don't know why brands are not all over this kind of work.
Totally.
We don't either.
They should be. We fully agree.
I mean, I assume part of it is worrying about, they'll rub somebody the wrong way, right?
I think there's a lot of backlash that people are afraid of facing, but I think that also happens mostly, right, when they're not doing it correctly, or when it's inauthentic, or when they don't have the right people in the room to think about the issue they're trying to discuss, and they're just doing it because they think they're supposed to. There's, I think, a lot of elements that often get left behind.
Who knew? It's actually strategy.
Yeah, what a concept.
Yeah, I think there's also, over time, there's been a shift in terms of what a company is there to do, right? And it's been the shift to, it's one and only thing is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Whereas historically, that wasn't always the case. Companies were there to be part of the community they're in, and also make a bunch of money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back to what you were talking about at the beginning, right? And part of your inspiration and your family and the other families that started the kibbutz in Israel. It's this community element of what companies used to be. And they used to build whole neighborhoods and cities based around the companies for their workers when they would build these new factories. And they wanted to support them because they needed the workers. And it was much more of a give and take instead of just a take. And we've kind of lost that human touch, I think, to a lot of these companies in terms of their local communities, because they've all grown so large and the focus is less on the local impact and more on just selling more and growing more and more. So I think there's definitely something nice to this idea of bringing a lot of this company work back local and understanding how we can give back and all work together for a better future.
Yeah, I totally think you can do both. I think you can make a lot of money and have some impact, and you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be some hot button issue.
No.
That, but also sometimes that's okay too.
Yeah,
totally.
To say that's the right thing to do, and I'm on the side of right. So,
and for businesses to sustain in this world that we live in now as well, and to long term, as we talk about climate, as we talk about these other issues, to be a sustainable business, you need to be partaking in these conversations, or be mindful at least how your business operates within these spaces, because you will run out of materials. It's risk management on so many levels as well, as much as actually doing the good work because you care. But you will not be able to survive if you don't step into this space.
And making money and giving back are not mutually exclusive either.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
You can the more a company gives back, the more you're going to get better employee retention, better recruiting, and taking care of your people in a different way, like you were saying.
Customer loyalty, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally think so. I also think that it in a world where competition over the top producing employees is high, the more you come up with things that make them feel good about the company they're in, you're like you said, like you'll have better retention, you'll have more commitment to the company and the product, which then ends up in productivity. You get people who are staying up all night because they want the company to do better because it's doing great things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I believe, at least. So.
We are right there with you.
Yes.
What is the biggest challenge you're facing right now?
Well, there's always budgets.
Yes.
There's certainly a squeeze in that regard right now, more than I've seen in a moment, at least in certain ways, in sort of like traditional ways that agencies in advertising space at least get paid. Also in all the other parts of media that I work in, feature films and TV and whatever, there was a moment the last few years of like, we need more people on our streaming service, so here's all the money you want. And now it went to the other end of the spectrum very quickly.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll find some middle ground. So but that's always been the case. I mean, I've lived through a bunch of bubbles and a bunch of major transitions. I used to work on humongous music videos. That was my aughts. I did all the Outcast and whatever videos for Britney Spears and Janet Jackson. All that, and I was there as that industry disappeared essentially. And
it was like the heyday of music videos.
I certainly had a lot of fun. And it was fun challenges too, because it was a lot of like, you want to do what? And I don't know how to do that, but okay, let's figure that out. There's a lot less of that these days. Yeah. But in terms of challenges right now, I mean, like I said, there's always budgets. Budgets have always been the thing. Yeah. But certainly AI is something that both presents a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Challenges are both just in terms of disruption to production models and how quickly those challenges have come around or disruptions have come around in a way that I don't think we've seen before.
Yeah.
But also all the sort of moral issues about, well, what was this model trained on? Can I use this without feeling bad that it stole a bunch of people's work and now allows me to do something in 30 seconds that you used to need an artist to sit there and do it, or a writer that now I can just ask ChatGPT to just write something for me or whatever it might be. So there's the challenge of navigating that and where it's useful and where it isn't useful. It's also in many ways overhyped. So dealing with a lot of uninformed expectations, like, oh, we heard AI can solve all this. And sometimes it can, and sometimes it can't. So for instance, with the Weather Kids thing, some languages in some ways it was able to do well, and sometimes it did not. Sometimes many times, honestly, the automatic translation failed, and we had to have a human rewrite it so that it actually sounds right, and other issues of controllability and all that, and pauses and emotionality and how you deal with all that. There's still a lot that isn't quite right. So, but
also makes sense when you think of who's creating a lot of that AI technology, right? And that you tend to have only certain groups represented on the other side. So it makes sense that there would be those sorts of challenges with it.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's also just the disconnect between the engineers making it and the people who need to use it is quite
and the
big.
humanity. Like,
Literal humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is the goal? Like, I read a quote. I'm going to mess it up and I forget who it was that said it, but I'll say it anyhow. She said, "I wanted an AI that will do the dishes and the laundry, so I can do art, and instead." I got an AI that can do art, so I need to do the dishes and the laundry.
What happened to those Jetsons robots? Why didn't we get any of those?
Yeah. So AI is a sort of a big challenge.
Yeah.
And I have to
And the
say,
climate impact.
of course,
AI
and
is
water,
not great.
yeah, environmental impact of all that, and is it worth it? That's one of the many factors that comes into play. In my industry, we tend to ignore a lot of that because we use a ton of electricity all the time. Computers, just like stacks and stacks and stacks of computer to do anything and everything is part of what we do, and we kind of try and not try, but we ignore the consequences of that.
Well, you could always
But it
take a
is part
page
of it.
out of Frito-Lay's book, and you have an entire studio run on potato energy.
Oh yeah, we saw a spot that did that for
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
yeah.
I'd like to. I'd
I
like
mean,
to do
your
that.
STEAM kids would love that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that, and then honestly, there's one thing that has been driving me nuts for decades, which is there's a lack of know-how all around when it comes to project management. So many people who should know better, who just aren't trained. Is really it's not their fault. The people I've met a lot of really detail-oriented, great producers who just don't know how to do it. Like they end up with just this sort of mess that I end up having to jump into quite often. And I want to be an artist. I don't want to fix your Gantt charts or actually explain to you what a Gantt chart is. But that's been driving me that's been driving me nuts for years, and it's something that every place that I've been to, I try and push and fix and get people trained on how to manage a project, because it's not just important for work, it's important for life. But yeah, so those are my three constant challenges: is budget, AI, and just
general
getting
project
through a project.
Manager, it's funny because I imagine that doesn't improve at all and only continues to get worse in the world of remote work, and people, when they don't get to hear and see others doing a job, then they don't get to work from experience or get trained in the same way that at least you had that exposure in an office where people could kind of help you along with that. And it's so disconnected when people are working remote that they don't get that proper training, even more so than previously.
No, absolutely. Training, I mean, is always hard, and especially when you can't just slide over and be like, "Hey, can you show me how to do this?" Or just look over somebody's shoulder. And it's actually surprising to me. Not surprising. Well, maybe surprising and disappointing is the fact that we did go through a pandemic where we were all just at home for a long time. And I don't think the tools ever came around to really resolve these issues. I think that all these concerns that companies currently have about, we need to bring everybody back into the office because there's no culture, there's lack of ways of training and all these things.
Right.
As somebody who's a major nerd and has been around technology since I was little, I just think it's just that it hasn't been fully thought out, and the good tools have not been made to solve that. I don't think it's I do think there's value in people getting together, honestly, once in a while. I don't think you need to have them in the office 5 days a week, or in my world it becomes 7 days a week. I think you can create a culture differently, but we really don't have good tools to do that and make that happen and allow for the flexibility that people enjoy from working at home.
Yeah, that's totally true.
I hope somebody comes up with a tool that does that before we're all forced back into offices. I think certainly this hybrid situation is pretty cool.
Yeah. Maybe we need to put the STEAM kids on it because they'll think more innovatively than the people that are already doing the thing.
Well, before we jump into the campaign that you've brought for us today, we're going to quickly review our criteria, both for you, Elad, and also for our listeners. So the first thing we always look at is alignment.
Next is partnerships,
call to action and transparency,
engagement,
and optimization and amplification.
So with that, Elad, if you can please tell us about the campaign you brought today that you think is doing it well, and give us a little summary of the creative and what you enjoyed about the spot or the campaign.
So I thought I'd bring the Dove campaign. It's called Beauty Never Gets Old, and I thought they did a really good job of essentially that you just because you're older doesn't mean you're not beautiful, and showing a bunch of beautiful people who actually have been using their product for a long time, and showing them in a way that really makes them shine, and hopefully helps communicate that message. I mean, especially in a society where we give so much weight to being young. Everything's got to be new and fresh and young, and this idea that beauty is not necessarily one thing, I think is really great. And obviously, there's a lot of us who are not young, so there's a huge audience, I think, to it. But also, it addresses something that is, I think, a society thing. It certainly has gotten more extreme with just the prevalence of media everywhere, is that beauty is getting more and more defined in one way. And I feel like I've seen, so like, again, when I used to do a lot of music videos, the I used to do a lot of rap videos as well. And the the beauty, or the definition of beauty in sort of the African American community in the 2000s, was very different than sort of what, I don't know, the like Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera were going for. And but I got to see it live once, like, Instagram came, when you can see the difference of like what is considered a beautiful body shape. And I have a good friend who I mean, she tells me that her entire childhood in high school, whatever, she got made fun of for having a big butt. And now suddenly you have people going to get butt surgery to make their butts bigger, and she's very upset about this, as she should be, I think.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, beauty is not the same. If you look at art over the generations, you see body shapes change, the perception of what is beautiful changes. I really like that Dove kind of, I think, does a good job at kind of pointing out that it's not one thing, and being older does not necessarily mean that you should be discarded, I guess. Yeah. And it just does a good job at like making you feel good about their product, making it seem like using their product for a long time helps you stay beautiful in the way that they're framing it. But it's still much wider than, I think, the normal societal view, or sort of the prevalent societal view, I guess.
Yeah. And I
think it's
love...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead, on.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think it's cool that Dove has touched on so many issue areas lately that are geared towards younger audiences, and a lot of, I mean, everything that they do is based in studies that they've conducted, right? And the insights that they find, which is obviously really important, and these different definitions of beauty. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of it has been, there's been the problems with social media and the images that they're showing, and they're always trying to redefine this definition of beauty and bring it back to a more natural, generally looking, and to not get sucked into these ideas from society. But the fact that they went the complete other direction and geared towards an older audience, and then it's like edgy and fun, and these women are cool, and you just want to hang out with them when you watch it. It is such a different vibe from a lot of their more docu-style, more recent work. Even in their partnership, when they did the spots with LinkedIn and talking about African American women's hair and how that affects getting hired and things like that. Like they touch on so many different areas for the Crown Act.
Right.
Like that work was also very different. And so I love that this is so different from a lot of the docu-style work, and that these are real users. So it still has a little bit of that real people element, but is cool. And it makes you want to, like, I don't know.
Well, right. And it's also, it's taking their initial product.
Yeah.
Right. It's taking their initial product that they had and giving it a new life and giving it a new spin and saying, like, it's funny, like thinking about all of their products that they've launched since this beauty bar, right? They have body washes, they have hair care, they have all of these things.
Men's products too.
Hey,
Yeah, women's and men's
let's
lines.
celebrate the initial product and let's give it a new leash on life. I love it. And equating that to, I see this ad and I immediately think of my mom and my mother-in-law, because they are the two women in my life that I know who refuse to use body wash and who still use a washcloth. And anytime they come to visit, I know I need to have a bar of, like, physical bar of soap ready for them. And then to see these vibrant older women being celebrated, it's very, very cool. I love this.
I'm gonna destroy all their brand efforts right now. I use a bar of Dove.
Yes.
So there goes their campaign now. It's like,
it's equal opportunity.
It is. And it doesn't even need to be men's care. It can be.
Yeah.
This is great.
Sorry, but just me saying that is enough for my daughter to stop any consideration of ever using that. So probably all of her friends as well.
Well, it's okay. To be fair, she is of the exact age, right, of the what do they call them? The tween Sephora users that are already using anti-age products. So it's there's other spots that were more geared towards her. I'm doing all these beauty standards. Just
as a father of an 11-year-old girl, I actually find that incredibly disturbing. I think that beauty brands have very obviously decided to target young girls, target them with stuff they don't need. I think it's messed up. I think it will come back to them at some point in terms of, like, there'll be a documentary or something that's gonna, like, I think it's a very bad move in terms of sort of longevity for a brand. It's not like there aren't things that young girls can and maybe even should use, but firming cream is definitely not something that like, I had to have a conversation with my daughter about, your skin is what the older people are trying to get by using these things. Like, you certainly don't need that. And I mean, honestly, it's gotten to the point where we just told her, you can't go to Sephora, period. And I'm sure there's other parents who are getting to that point. So, and which I think, again, is a bad move for Sephora. She could get other things at Sephora, but rather than me telling, well, you can get this, you can get that, like, I don't want to be in there with her judging each one. Just no is the bottom line. And I think it's a shame. I don't want to just target or like just name Sephora. There's a bunch of other brands who are doing the same. But
oh, absolutely.
I'm sure they all claim that they're not trying to target kids, but there's no doubt in my mind, at least. I mean, there's so much of it in her, whatever, when she watches YouTube or she's not on TikTok yet, but that it can't be accidental.
No, it's not accidental, 100%. And it's crazy, right? When we were kids, lip smackers, tinted chapstick was basically the extent of it. And I guess on one hand, it's like nice that it's not makeup, but it's terrifying that it's skincare and products that will probably in the long run not actually be sustainable for your skin, or making it not have, I don't know anything about this really in the science behind it, but probably in the long term is actually not helpful to be starting those things so young. This is also being said by the person who's terrible at taking care of her own skin, because they've just been lucky to this point and now realize that I need to actually do things. So I'm definitely not an expert in this space. However, I'm already terrified of the messaging that is going to these young girls, and dreading that day myself. So I like this ban on Sephora, and unfortunately that might happen in our house one day. So, but it's also interesting on that note too. Something I don't remember where I saw this, but I remember seeing someone in the context of makeup saying, for young girls, it used to be this idea you wanted to put on your mom's makeup or something just because whatever, right? But to this idea that you don't need makeup was when your daughter asks about when you're putting on makeup, like why you wear makeup, instead of saying it's to make me look pretty, which I think is like the old school way of thinking about it, is to say, sometimes I like to feel fancy. And so it's not, or like be fancy or something like that. So it's like, it gives it it's not the definition of pretty and beauty. And it kind of disconnects it from that, which I thought was very clever. But back to Dove and beauty never getting old. We can jump around through some of our criteria, which I think we kind of hit on a bunch of this. Obviously, it's
Yes.
aligned with their brand because we know this is Dove's MO, and we often refer to them as the gold standard.
They are. They do no wrong in our eyes.
I wonder, I mean, I know that they showed us that these were real people in this world of social media and what's it called? Not grandparent talk or grandma talk. There's influencers now who are seasoned.
Yeah.
And I wonder if any of these women are actually influencers in and of themselves or known people, or if they are all just very real people, because it would be interesting if they had actually found anyone who was. They're just all so cool. I'm like, these are just normal people walking down the street. I love all of them.
Well, yeah,
so great job on casting, whoever
and
did
to
it.
do cross promotion, right? Like it would be great to get one of those influencers to actually drive traffic and promote this ad and show like, hey, I'm also a Dove Beauty bar user and check out this latest campaign. That's kind of, I think that's how they could potentially leverage talent and influencers. They're not already.
And on that note, I did see that they have a tie-in with The Bachelor, with the Golden Bachelor, which seems very appropriate.
There we go.
Happening later this year, which is interesting. I wonder, I haven't looked this up yet. I wonder if they have on their website how they often have impact campaigns tied to these spots. I wonder if there's anything for this one. Because a lot of the times there's something that either they're trying to get a petition signed or they're offering educational materials, or if this is just a awareness campaign.
Yeah, and it might just be awareness, and it is making us
There's
aware.
value in that too. Yeah, totally. Well, on that note, there isn't a call to action, so maybe there isn't on the website. I'm putting that up on the same time.
The call to action is that older women got it going on.
Yeah, that they do. Yeah, I mean, Dove really just nails it every time.
Such a high bar that they've set. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously a focus for them. They very obviously spend money on it.
Yep.
But I have to assume that it's working. Otherwise, they'd probably stop.
Totally.
So
they even have positive masculinity on their site as their in their mission. It's redefining beauty, kids' body confidence, racial equity, parenthood, positive masculinity, and ingredients of sustainability. I didn't think I realized they had the positive masculinity piece. Yeah. Just a few hot topics.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes so ironic, right? When you see brands that can't step into anything, yet Dove is able to have authentic conversations in all of these spaces.
That's right.
Right. And also I want to call out, I do it does appear that they have a very diverse cast as well, which I feel like compared to a lot of brands still, they tend to do a better job of as well, that they showed a range of women across the board there.
Love it. So do we think there's any missed opportunities for good here or opportunities for greater impact?
I mean, I wonder, it doesn't seem like there's any sort of footprint on their site after this campaign and I get that it maybe is actually just selling the body bar and redefining beauty in a way in the awareness, but I wonder if there could actually be, I don't know what it would be offhand, but if there could be a continuation of that campaign, I don't think there's anything you're signing a petition for to like redefine beauty, but ways to shift that narrative further and push that conversation further, like what that would look like.
I mean, I think that there's a lot around ageism and discrimination in the workplace, and so maybe that could be a conversation starter about how do you create more inclusivity and not the word I'm trying, like not count them out yet.
Totally.
Right?
Also, I mean, I have a very, very small window into the social media world of young people, but I haven't, or at least from what I've seen, I hadn't really seen much of that on my daughter's feed. And I feel like they could combine their different messaging maybe a little better by because I think there's a core narrative that is true for this and the selfie thing and the body image thing, which is don't let other people define your beauty, right? I think. And I'm not sure that they, or I guess the other way around. I think they could cross-reference these things a lot more, and get some further uplift from all of them across the board, rather than have something come and go, and then it's like, okay, on to the next thing. I think they could maybe have gotten a little more out of it if they combined the things, or at least expose it to some of the same people. Even though I'm sure their research was showing that whatever this works best for people in this age group. But I think forward thinking is also important. So if you're trying to set a thinking, then you might reap the results or the rewards
long term,
10 years down the line,
For
but still, especially for a brand this size,
building loyalty for longevity. It's interesting that you say that, right? Because they probably are running this more for the boomer audience versus showing it to young kids on their social channels in conjunction with some of those other campaigns. But the importance of that, because I remember thinking, as a kid, what you think is what old looks like and what age is old. And then you get to that age and you're like, oh, that's actually not old at all. Like, this is the age that's old. And so if your perception beyond like your grandparents and your grandparents' friends is these cool women of what beauty looks like as you get older, and you're already seeing images of that when you're young, like, you're like, oh, you don't have to not be cool anymore as you get older, right? You have all this room to grow, and this beauty can last forever. And there are so many different ways you can show up in the world. And I think that's a really interesting point.
I think you can picture something like a campaign pushing younger kids to, I don't know, make TikToks with their grandparents or whatever it might be. Do some cool thing, like, show me your cool older person in your life, your beautiful older person in your life. I think that would catch like fire. There's other ways to combine the things and activate
and
that,
engage
I know I was watching some of their social campaign. It seemed to be asking people to kind of say, how long they've been using bar and the bars of soap, the Dove soap, and all that. I think they could have probably pushed that further and activate both generations or multiple generations. I certainly know that my niece, who's 29 or something, is a very busy Instagram and whatever TikTok person on top of her actual job. Would be happy to do something with my mom that's kind of silly and crazy. I'm not sure my mom would be willing to, but probably could be pushed to. And my mom is as cool as some of the people on this campaign. At least I think so.
I definitely think there's definitely something there that there could be a fun way to tie the generations together. And also then it ties into these conversations about cross-generation and the importance of intergeneration conversations and all of these other things. I mean, it's the same thing that kids were doing with those TikTok videos when TikTok first started, with the dancing, with getting your parent or grandparents to dance with you and all that. Like, that's like the OG of it all, right? So like coming back to something in there, relating it to the product, and would be very cool.
It's also, I think, in some ways, if you're really trying to do something about the core issue, it's, I think, a multi-generational thing that flows down the line. I love The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. In the very first episode, there's this whole thing about her never showing her unmade up face to her husband.
Right.
And obviously we've moved away from that to some degree, but I can see in my family some of the state of mind of what is presentable, what is okay, what is flows from my mom all the way down to my daughter. And if you're not making the change to all the generations, if you're not pushing all generations to think about it, I think it's less likely to actually make a difference. Because if you're like, oh, I'm going to be this or that, and then you come to I don't know, Thanksgiving dinner, and grandma's like, no, you can't wear that in my house, or you need to be this way or that way, it's
harder to shift the narrative.
Yeah, it's conflicting messages, and it can go either way. The kids can either comply or they can fight, but if you're moving everybody in the same direction, I think it makes it much more amplified, and you get better outcomes.
100%. I think, I feel like we could talk for another hour just on that. But unfortunately, it's time to wrap up for today. Thank you, Elad, so much for joining us today. Where can folks learn more about you and your work? Where can we send them?
First of all, you're very welcome, and I really had a fun time. I hope. Okay, so let's see. The nonprofit education thing is called Think Tank. The website is thinktankscience.org. Check that out. It's still early days, so if you have notes about the website or whatever, let us know. If you want to help, definitely let us know. We're very excited, and we feel like we're doing great things, but we're still learning and getting our feet. The UNDP program, if you just look and just Google P Weather Kids, there is a website, but I don't remember what it is. But Googling
we'll drop it in the show notes.
Company I work for is called The Artery. The-artery.com is the website. If you want to make some cool commercials and win some lions, get in touch with us.
Spot to go.
And that's it. No, I'm on LinkedIn if you want to just chat. I'm always happy to meet new people.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh, Elad, you are a delight. Thank you so much for shining a light and learning along with us from those who are doing it well and reducing the missed opportunities for good.
Thank you.
We want to hear from you, our listeners. Please let us know, what campaigns are you saying that are doing it well? Who would you like to see us interview? And what campaigns would you like us to audit?
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on our mission to revolutionize the industry that we love.
Missed Opportunities for Good is a production of Aligned for Impact and Love of Good.